Up next, part one of our interview with Gil Cisneros, Undersecretary of Defense for Personnel and Readiness. With a wide scope of personnel issues under his purview, Mr. Cisneros has a lot to cover when it comes to service members. For a look at some of his major priorities heading into 2023, he spoke to Military Times Pentacom Bureau Chief Megan Myers. Check it out.
I wanted to start with a bit of news because there has been a couple of big pieces of news around here in the past couple of weeks. The vaccine mandate was repealed yesterday. Secretary Austin put out a memo, and in there's some guidance that you are in charge of promulgating next. Do you have any details about, what are the loose ends that you're supposed to tie up there and when we might see some of that following guidance?
Well, there's still some things that we need to handle. We think we still need to put out religious guidance. As it said in the memo, the combatant commanders may have the discretion to kind of put out, depending on their AOR and what needs to be done. Different nations may require a vaccine, or it may require individuals to get the vaccine if they're going to that nation. So there's still things that we need to kind of tie up and tie up those loose ends. But the vaccine has been very positive for our force. It's kept our force safe. As the secretary said in the memo, it's had a huge impact on keeping people out of hospitals, keeping them safe. And so we're still encouraging service members to get the vaccine, to get the boosters, because we know it works and we know it's going to keep our force safe. And part of our job of readiness is ensuring that our service members are ready to do their job and they're healthy, and that will enable them to do the job. So we're going to keep encouraging individuals to get that mandate or to get that vaccine.
In the last few weeks of the last year, there were some concerns coming out of the building that repealing that mandate would affect readiness in some way. What are some of the concerns now, either with currently serving service members, it's a very small number, right, who are unvaccinated, or newly assessing service members coming in and being unvaccinated? How do you plan to mitigate some of those risks?
Well, as I said, we're still going to encourage individuals to get the vaccine, to get the boosters. The science that we've seen throughout the Department of Defense has shown that it's been effective in keeping people out of hospitals and keeping them alive. So we're still going to encourage that. It's been effective and it's worked, and we want to let our service members know we're giving them different options of different vaccines that they can have or that they can choose to take. And so we'll continue to do that.
Another big piece of news recently is the new parental leave policy, which gave 12 weeks of bonding leave for anyone who's welcoming a new child, either partner, birthing or non-birthing. But some of the services haven't yet put out their guidance about that. Do you guys have concerns about there being some delays? For instance, the Army has not put out their guidance yet, which means that currently soldiers who are having babies maybe in the next couple of weeks are still a little up in the air about what their options are going to be. Is there any follow-up to the services to ensure that they get on that quickly?
Well, we'll work with them to help them get that guidance out. It just came out last week. It's still relatively new, but this is going to have a huge impact on family readiness. It's going to allow service members time to bond with their kids, both parents, not only if they have the birth of a child, but also if they adopt a child. And so this is great, and we're glad. I thank Jackie Spear, Representative Jackie Spear, who left Congress, for championing this. Representative Chrissy Houlihan for championing this. They were able to get it in the NDAA, and it allowed us to go and to make this change, which is really going to have a huge impact on our families and allow them to spend some good quality time with their newborn children.
So another big headline from the past year has been the recruiting crisis, or a creeping recruiting crisis, depending on which service you're talking about. Obviously, the services are in charge of that. They do their own string pulling and their own efforts. But is there anything from this DoD level, any research, any resources, any guidance that you can provide to get more at where the problem is? There are so many theories about why there is a recruiting crisis and what can be done about it. From your level, where are you guys working on it?
Well, we do the jammers, right? So we have all the data that we get, that we provide to the services as to what we're seeing with recruiting, right? And there's a lot, like you said, there's a lot of reasons, right? One of the things that we're seeing is there's just a disconnect. A lot of, young people today don't have a connection with the military. Me, myself, I joined at 18. My dad was a veteran. My grandfathers are veterans. I had uncles that served in the Army. Everybody, I knew a lot of people that did. Today, young people that are 18 don't have that same connection. They may not know somebody who served in the military. Um, the thing that we got to get out there, and this is what we need to work with Congress, and I know I can work with them, and I'm hoping to do this, is we got to get out there and share our story and talk about the benefits of service. And that's what I think we can do at the OSD level, is really, I'll talk about myself. All my education is through the military. I got my bachelor's and 2 master's degrees, going through ROTC, tuition assistance, and then using my GI Bill later on. There are great benefits of that. It changed my life. It put in a different trajectory than I could have imagined. I never would have imagined for myself. And we have a lot of stories like that. We need to talk about that. We need our veterans to go out and share their stories with young people and talk about the benefits of service and how it changed their life and what good it could do for them and how it could give them an education and kind of teach them discipline. And so that's what we need to do at the OSD level, and that's what we're talking about, and really kind of using the data that we have to go out there and share these stories.
Is there any thought to changing the way that accession standards are written to allow for the fact that not only when you're talking about maybe substances, but when you're talking about behavioral health, to make it easier for people who've had problems, sought out treatment, learned coping mechanisms, and hopefully come out better, to still be able to come into the military the way that people who've never confronted their issues are able to come in?
No, we took a look at that, and we did make a change. There were over 35 categories of things that people were automatically disqualified for that, and I'll use one example, like childhood asthma.
Right.
Or
something like eczema.
Right.
Right.
If a person hasn't had, child or had any experience of asthma within a certain period of time, then okay, we can overlook that, right? Then that doesn't become a thing where now you need to go and get a waiver for this. We're continually looking at that and working with the surgeon generals and the services to see how we can expand that more. And these constantly items where people are always seeking waivers for medical reasons that maybe we don't need a waiver for that, right? Because it seems like we're granting a waiver for it all the time anyway. So why do we make it a disqualifying situation when people are coming in? So yeah, we're continually looking at that to see how we can improve the process. The Army's got a great program right now where they're working with individuals who may not meet the standards for service to come into the Army, whether it might be they need academic support or they need physical fitness support. Over 90% of the individuals have gone through that program, have moved on to go into boot camp. And so I think the other service are looking at that as well to see how they can kind of maybe take some ideas from that and kind of put it into their own program. But, we are looking at new ways and new things that we can do to help, people that want to serve.